The Xbox handheld, as we know, is coming, and there's going to be, I think, multiple variations of it. Well, Asus has teased it, or teased a new handheld, and Xbox has replied. So interesting stuff there. We'll look at that. Activision Blizzard games, more should be coming over to Xbox Game Pass. Why aren't they? Why is it taking long to get more of these games into the service? We do have an update and some comments on what is going on with Activision Blizzard games and Xbox. We have some more information about the next Call of Duty season, Assassin's Creed Shadows sales, more evidence that this game is successful. We also have a bunch of other things to talk about, like Monster Hunter Wild sales, Final Fantasy 9 25th anniversary coming up. Lots more rumors talking about they're coming out with a remake about that game, some Switch information and other things to go over. But before we do continue, if you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit the subscribe button, share the video, like the video. And if you have been watching for a while and are not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button, as I see many of you who do watch on a daily basis are not subscribed. But for now, let's jump into it. So as we know, the Xbox handhelds are on the way, whether that is from the third-party manufacturers or as well from Xbox themselves. I do believe they are going to be making their own in-house Xbox handheld that is going to just encapsulate the entire Xbox ecosystem, all of your games library, and you're going to be able to play everything in a nice console UI. That's my prediction as to what they are going to be doing. But before we get to that, we are going to see the design for Xbox handhelds by third-party manufacturers, one of those being Asus, and potentially just a ROG Ally with some Xbox overlays on it. We got a new tease here from Asus about a new handheld that is coming, and Xbox had a pretty curious response to it, basically signifying that this is going to be an Asus ROG Ally with an Xbox skin on it, and this announcement should be coming relatively soon. We have this here from ROG Global saying our little robot friend is cooking something up, and it goes through here. It's just a quick video, ends off here with a handheld in shadows, and you can't really see what it is, what it's for, but I'm guessing it is going to be the Xbox handheld, because you have Xbox here with this reply, with that meme that is basically saying it's us. It is going to be an Xbox handheld. The tweet also just says ROG Ally, play all your games, next level gaming. So by all your games, I wonder what that means. Are they signifying here that they mean you're going to be able to play everything that you own on Xbox? I don't know, but probably not, because I think it's still just going to be a PC handheld with an Xbox skin on top of it, where it's really going to focus on things like Xbox Game Pass and being able to play the Play Anywhere games with that device itself. So that's probably what more it's going to be focusing on. But I'm hoping we do get to a point in this generation and next generation where we are getting a handheld that allows us to play the games that we already own on the Xbox console. If you go down here into the comments, here's what some people are saying. Love it. Asus ROG Ally is the new device my buddies and I swear by. I had so many issues with the Steam Deck just randomly shutting off for what I'm assuming is a kernel panic. The sleep button not working correctly. Been so nice to actually have a working hybrid console. This person says this better not be an April Fool's joke. They say, I'm not going to lie, it's an instant buy if the next Ally has a little Tamagotchi like Buddy built into it. Okay, I guess to each their own. This person just says Xbox. Continuing down here, it says ROG Ally with Game Pass native support, Xbox on the go gaming, ROG Ally 2. Thank you, Xbox. So there's a lot of questions here and I guess guesses as to what this is. You see this tweet here that shows the ABXY buttons on there, although I think that's already standard on the ROG Allies. I don't know if that's a hint of anything whatsoever, but the reality is I think because Xbox did reply to this tweet with what they did reply, and from all the reports that we have been hearing about the handhelds coming soon from third-party manufacturers, like I think Asus is going to be the one that kicks it off, and then we're probably going to see like Lenovo and other companies out there make these, that they're, I'm guessing, going through some sort of certification process by Xbox with something that will differentiate these from the regular ROG Ally, similar to what Lenovo is doing with Steam and Steam OS and their Lenovo Legion Go S. So there's going to be those different competing avenues that people have to look at when they're looking to pick up these PC handhelds. The other question I do have about this is it just going to be the exact same internals as, let's say, the ROG Ally X, or is this going to be a slight upgrade to what is already out there on the market and giving more incentive to people to go pick up this new shiny handle that is going to be coming out? I will look into this most likely because I had a Steam Deck, I had an ROG Ally, I sold both of those off. My biggest gripes with the current handhelds right now with the Windows ones is the battery life. I just can't really get over only being able to play a game for like an hour and a half or 2 hours than having to carry around my plug with me everywhere with a handheld. I'd rather just honestly, with how good Xbox Cloud Gaming is right now, just use the cloud gaming side of things, which is what I was doing a lot with my ROG Ally and my Steam Deck, was just using cloud gaming, which kind of defeats the purpose of having one of these things, simply because I was able to sit back for like 4 hours or so and use the device when I wasn't at my console or at my PC. So I hope battery life is improved, at least in these next generation going forward, if not in this one that does come out. But I'm excited to see what it looks like, what changes, what aesthetics changes will be there that show that this is an Xbox handheld. Okay, the next thing I do want to talk about here is Blizzard and Activision Blizzard games coming onto Xbox Game Pass. We have gotten a few. We just got another one the other day, which was that Blizzard Arcade Collection that you can go download right now on Game Pass. But the question is, why hasn't there been just a huge drop? Why hasn't there been more? I think there was a lot of people hoping, and even myself was hoping and even thinking that they would do what they did similarly with Bethesda, which was a few months after the acquisition, just give us a massive drop of games from this new acquisition all at once. That has not been the case, and I don't think that is the way that this is going to go. I think they're going to slow feed it now with a game here and a game there, Call of Duty and just other stuff within the back catalog. There's also been lots of things popping up, like games being relisted on the Xbox store from the Marvel games, from the Transformers games, and Deadpool, which got a lot of people's hopes up that these would be dropping in to the Game Pass service, but it just hasn't happened yet. And we have some more information here from Tom Warren on the Xbox 2 podcast from a couple of days ago. And here is what he has to say about why it's been taking long to get these games onto Xbox Game Pass. He says, I think a lot of it is just because it's so complicated to look at those older games and get them into Game Pass. Some of them are not even modernized. So it's like getting them on the cloud, save platform, and all that sort of stuff. There's real dev work to do there. Then there's licensing. They might have to even go to old voice actors for royalties contracts and stuff. It depends how these contracts were written back then. So there's definitely licensing issues there, I think, as well. I think it's a mixture of those that's holding some of this stuff back. They've done some, and I think they'll just roll as and when they're ready. I don't know if there's going to be a big drop. And that's kind of now where I'm fully leaning when it comes to the Activision Blizzard games coming into Game Pass. I just don't think there will be a big drop. And I agree, licensing is probably a massive issue, especially with these licensed games like the Deadpools and the Transformers. They have to go through and work out all of these contracts and see if it's even possible to get these in right now. And royalties will probably be a huge thing too. You think about games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater that are coming back and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remakes. One of the reasons why these took longer than maybe they should have was simply they probably have to go through all of this stuff with licensing and getting the actual skaters scanned to the game. All of the stuff takes time to do. So I wonder if that is the thing that's really holding it back. And from the Xbox perspective, when I'm thinking about it from the business side of things, they have the numbers as to how many people are going to go out and play these games if they drop into Game Pass, how many projected subscriptions that they would get if they dropped them all at the same time or just dropped some more of these licensed games into the service. And reality is, although people want it, including myself, would this really increase the business side of things? I probably would think not a great deal amount. I don't think there would be a huge gain in subscribers. I don't think there would be a bunch more people going out and buying an Xbox to play these older Activision Blizzard games because they do drop into the service. So they're probably looking at that and thinking that they're going to use their resources in other places while keeping that as something on the side that they have, especially at times when Xbox Game Pass may have a slower month or something. They can go out there and try to get one of these games reworked to drop into the service. That's what I'm thinking now. It kind of reminds me of the backwards compatibility program. And when that went away, I think a lot of that had to do with just licensing and then looking at the numbers of how many people would actually end up playing those games if they spent a bunch of resources trying to get them to work. It's unfortunate. It's disappointing, but I think that is just the way it is, at least as of right now. All right. Death Stranding 2 is coming. I have zero interest in the game. I tried the first Death Stranding, played it for like 10 hours or so. I absolutely disliked the game. I thought it was boring. I didn't understand it, and I don't think that many people actually do understand it, even if they've beaten it. But maybe there are people out there that really see deeply into this game. I just didn't like it at all. It wasn't for me. I have nothing against Kojima. I actually enjoy Metal Gear, but Death Stranding was a game that bored the heck out of me. So no interest in Death Stranding 2, but there are people, and I know a lot of them, that love this game and they play on Xbox. And as of right now, they're not going to be able to play Death Stranding 2 on Xbox. Will it come in the future like the first one did? I think so. I think there will be a port for it. And it looks like there's some more hints of this at the potential of a PS5 port on to Xbox. We have this here, and this is, first of all, Kojima announcing that Death Stranding players have exceeded 20 million players. 20 million people have jumped into the game. He says, "Thank you very much. Sams from all over the world are still delivering. You are connecting the world." Now, you have to ask yourself, 20 million players, that's a lot. How did they get there? And the reason they got there is because they finally released this on multiple platforms. So I know Kojima's looking at this and thinking at some point he's going to want to do. So, I mean, that's my opinion on what he's looking at. The numbers of Death Stranding. Locking it to PlayStation 5 obviously is not a great business move. Daniel Ahmad here says this on social media as well, saying, "Worth noting that the game had sold less than 5 million copies prior to the PC, PlayStation Plus, PlayStation 5, Series X and S, and Mac releases. Making the game more accessible has led to 20 million plus players experiencing the IP prior to the launch of its sequel that will require players to own a PlayStation 5 to play at launch." And Death Stranding is going to have, it has a lot of hype behind it. Anytime Kojima puts anything out, it has a huge amount of hype, but you have to ask yourself, will they even break 5 million on the PlayStation 5? They could, but when you're looking at the first game, 20 million plus players, I don't think it's going to anywhere near that being locked with PS5. Kojima knows that, and I'm sure in the future he's going to want to send this thing out to Xbox, to PC, and anywhere else that people are going to be picking up and playing this game based off of the numbers that the first one did. So I do believe this game will come over to Xbox at some point in the future, but who knows how long this exclusivity deal is. For me, I don't care because I'm not playing it, but I know people out there are wondering this and would be interested in playing this if it did drop on to the console and the platform that they do play on. All right, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, we're finally getting cross-play options on consoles for all of the modes coming in Season 3. They did put out this quick announcement here, these patch notes, that Season 3, cross-play options on console, on matchmaking with all platforms, on consoles only, matchmaking only with other consoles, and off if your current gaming platform only. So if you don't want to have any cross-play at all, which is nice. Especially in first-person shooters, this should be a standard option across all FPS games, is that you get to choose if you want to cross-play with only consoles or if you want to cross-play with consoles and PC, simply because there's just a huge advantage of playing first-person shooters on PC with a mouse and keyboard with higher refresh rate screens and higher FPS. It just kind of is unfair to the console player. So if you care about that, because a lot of people just jump in there casually, they don't really care. But if you do care about that, if it ruins your experience with the game, you should be able to only cross-play with the consoles themselves. So nice to see this coming over to Black Ops 6. All right, let's jump over we have more updates here for Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, since the release on March 20th, we've seen everything online. This game has taken over the discussions in terms of just a singular game that everybody is talking about. It's done very well with reviews. It's done very well with the player numbers, but you still see people out there basically saying Ubisoft is deceiving everybody in this game didn't do well because they're only quoting player numbers rather than sales. I think their last announcement was 3 million players, which is a big feat. It was the second biggest Assassin's Creed launch after Valhalla so far. So it's been successful. The data is out there. The numbers are out there, but you still have naysayers saying that it just isn't true. Even more info here that I say you can't really refute this now in terms of the game being successful, in terms of the sales charts and the revenues that it is bringing in. Matt Piscatello does a great job every month here with Circana, giving us numbers as to what is happening in the gaming industry, what is selling, and what games are on top of the charts. He put this out, I believe this was yesterday. Yes, this was yesterday. He put this out saying Assassin's Creed Shadows was the best-selling game. So, okay, we can move away from saying they're only talking about player numbers now because we have the sales. The best-selling game of the week in the US and already ranks among the top 5 best-selling games year to date in dollars, with the week ending March 22nd, 2025. Only Monster Hunter Wilds reached higher week $1 sales in 2025 so far. So I'm sure this will be spinned in some way to still make it seem like it's not doing good and we need more data or whatever. And we will get more data, but it is absolutely looking like this is a very successful game. Assassin's Creed is a very successful IP. I've said this way back that this game was going to sell well regardless of the hate campaigns against it. It's a successful IP. It's a good game as well. So great to see that it is doing well. Of course, the sales and success of this game, a deal was still going to happen with Ubisoft, which they've already announced with Tencent and that investment into their subsidiary, which will actually include the Assassin's Creed IP in that subsidiary. So this makes me question, what is the future of this franchise? We know games are in the works. I wonder how much influence Tencent will really have on the future of this franchise, because I like it a lot. I've enjoyed the single player, smaller experiences. I've also enjoyed the open world experiences, but I feel like Shadows they took a lot of the criticisms around Odyssey and Origins and Valhalla in terms of the open world and the checklist, and they made just a more exploratory, honed in game here that I think has gotten the formula for the open worlds to a higher level than the previous game. So I hope they kind of continue with this and just continue to refine it and stuff and continue making the open world ones at some point and still throw in those smaller games like they did with Assassin's Creed Mirage. But the game is doing good. The numbers are here. The numbers keep coming in, but I'm sure we'll still see people saying it is not doing good. Another game that I'm playing as well, it's very fun just to jump in and take on some of these monsters, is Monster Hunter Wilds. This game obviously was going to do very, very good when it did launch, one of the most popular IPs out there. I think it is the most popular Capcom IP that they do have in terms of sales. It always does the best. And they announced already that their impressive sales numbers on pace here to match Monster Hunter Worlds, which sold 22 million units since its release. But Monster Hunter Wilds has come out here and they have actually sold 10 million units in just 1 month. So again, big successes in March so far from the big AAA releases with Monster Hunter, with Assassin's Creed, and we have more games here to come in the next few weeks. I mean, March was a big month. April is a massive month. I mean, I just talked about this yesterday with the Game Pass games that are dropping in. It is going to be a phenomenal month. So many games to play. If you like video games, this is one of the best times to be a gamer with all the stuff that is coming out. Final Fantasy IX Remake. Are we going to be getting it? I think we are. The Square Enix is basically teasing it a little bit here. We'll get more information on this obviously in the future, but it's the 25th anniversary for the game. and they have opened up a website to celebrate this. They say here that the game turns 25 this year, will receive new action figures and other collectibles based on the game's cast. The figures will be released this summer. And then they say here that while Final Fantasy IX Remake has yet to be announced, it's been claimed by multiple sources that one is in development. To Square Enix's Naoki Yoshida suggests last year that a remake of the game in the style of the currently ongoing Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy would be too big for one game. He says, of course, I do know that there are requests for Final Fantasy IX to be made, but when you think about Final Fantasy IX, it's a game with huge volume. When you think about all of that volume, I wonder if it's possible to remake this thing as a single title. It's a difficult one. It's a tough question. I think they will do this. I think they will be remaking this, and I think they will continue to do what they did with Final Fantasy VII and release it in multiple parts, because although, yes, the game is big, I'm sure they could fit it into a singular release one way or another. But when you release it in 3 parts, you get to sell the thing 3 times, and you get to just have hype for this game over a much longer period of time. The other thing that I think will absolutely happen now, if Final Fantasy IX Remake gets announced, is that this will be multi-platform. We know Square Enix is moving away from the whole exclusive thing, the whole console exclusive thing, and they will be releasing this and announcing it for Xbox, PlayStation, maybe as well the Nintendo Switch 2, all at the same time, and PC as well, of course. So I hope it does happen. It would be cool to see FF9 gets its remake. All right, we have a few more things to go over here. Some updates here for the Nintendo Switch 2. There's a bunch of rumors that have come out about it. I'm not really going to go over it all because the Direct is literally tomorrow, and we'll have all the information about what this console is, what are the features of it, all of those things. But one thing that is very interesting is we have heard about the release date being in June, which is not far away whatsoever. And you would think developers have had their hands on the Nintendo Switch 2 dev kits now for a while to get their games ready for the launch of this system. Well, apparently that is not the case whatsoever. John Linneman of Digital Foundry has said here that many developers still do not have the Nintendo Switch 2, specifically saying, we'll talk about GDC later, but based on a lot of the things I've heard, it also seems like many developers are still without a kit. So they are very slow at rolling this out to a lot of developers. I think there will be third-party games early on, of course. It just seems like a lot of medium to small developers still do not have access to the development hardware. So Nintendo has been very selective with who they allow to do it. So they are keeping everything close to them. And I think a lot of that has to do with leaks. They don't want this stuff getting out earlier than it needs to, even though, I mean, the whole thing got leaked before that first trailer came up. But this, I think, really lines up with what we were hearing about the release schedule for the Nintendo Switch 2, that they were going to be doing this in like a phased approach, coming out in June, mainly focusing on their first party content. And then they were going to have another phase later on where you would get more third-party games released for it. And when the console launches in June is when a lot of developers are going to be getting their dev kits to prepare for those next phases of the Nintendo Switch 2 launch. It's a very interesting way to go about it if that is true, because you would think that right off of the bat, they want to have a huge lineup of games, first party and third party, all dropping at the same time, as many as they can, for developers and third parties that want to jump in on it, because that would entice a lot of people to go and pick this thing up. It does have that portability factor that isn't on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, at least with the native hardware itself. So you think that if they could get games that are currently available on those 2 other consoles on the Nintendo Switch 2 at launch, you'd even have people going from PS5 to Series X and running out to pick up one of these things to be able to play those games in their hands. So I'm surprised that they would go with a 3-pronged release, but we will see what they do, of course. And this will all be tomorrow. You don't have to wait very long. Very exciting. I can't wait to watch this direct and hopefully get pre-order information, game information, all the features of the console information. And of course, we will end up talking about it. And 2 more quick things here. Naughty Dog rumor is going around here. This is from Bill Kuhn, which generally is correct. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if this happened. It's actually kind of hilarious in my mind. But according to reliable source Bill, Naughty Dog will release a physical special edition of The Last of Us on PS5, and they say not much is known about it other than it will cost $109.99, which leads them to believe that it will be part 1 and part 2 in a remastered bundle up into one copy. So let's just say this is the case. This is true. $109.99. You get Last of Us 1 and Last of Us 2 in a physical version of this game. People will buy it. I just find it hilarious because PlayStation has just released so many different versions of The Last of Us, and this generation for them has basically been trying to fill in the gaps of lagging behind in their first party development and in their first party output, and filling in those gaps with re-releasing the same games over and over and over again. And the only reason I think that they do that is because people are spending and double and triple dipping on the same games over and over and over again. If they announce this, the reactions online, I think, will be fun to look at. I think it will be hilarious, but we will see. It's a single package. It's a physical edition. $109.99 is a steep price. I don't know how many people are going to want to pay that to get just games that are already out there, which you could already find for far cheaper on the used market and everything. You could pick up both of them on the used market, and it'll be way less than $109.99. There's probably going to be some additional things in there. I don't see them releasing it at that price with just the same stuff that is already out there. Or at least I hope that isn't what they do. And finally, some sad news. As usual in the gaming industry, we see this continuously happening all the time. More layoffs here. And this one comes at Eidos Montreal. They are laying off 75 people. They say as work on an unnamed project stops and other projects still in development at the studio. So we don't know what this project is, but it's unfortunate for the people that did lose their job. And as I always say, hopefully they land back on their feet. Nobody likes to see people losing their jobs. It's always a tough thing to go through. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. We'll be right back.